This isn't just a drama, it's the game show that flipped the entire world of entertainment upside down. But the real shock? Behind the fiction lies a horrifying truth. A real-life concentration camp in South Korea, where orphans and homeless kids were dragged in, forced into labor and abused, just like Squid Game. All for the amusement of the powerful. Only one mistake, and they were tortured. Squid Game wasn't made up. It was a warning about a system that turned suffering into spectacle. In September 2021, Netflix dropped a show no one expected to explode. Within just 28 days, Squid Game became the most-watched series in Netflix history, with over 111 million accounts watching it worldwide. That's more than the populations of South Korea, Canada, and Australia combined. It topped charts in 94 countries from the US to Pakistan. This wasn't just a show. It was a cultural earthquake. People changed their profile pictures, wore the tracksuits, played the games, and even in schools. Red light, green light became a real-world craze. But behind this viral fame, there was a truth few knew. Squid Game didn't come out of nowhere. It came from pain, poverty, and a hidden chapter of Korean history. This isn't just entertainment. This is a scream carefully packed into 9 episodes. Hwang Dong-hyuk, the man behind Squid Game, was once a struggling writer living with his mother in a cramped apartment. In 2009, he wrote the script for Squid Game, but no one wanted it. They said it was too violent, too dark, and too unrealistic. Hwang was so broke, he had to sell his laptop for $675 just to survive. He worked in internet cafes, rewrote his scripts by hand, and chased a dream that looked impossible. His breakthrough came in 2014 with the film Miss Granny, but Squid Game was still gathering dust. For 10 years, this story was rejected by every studio. No one wanted to touch it. But Hwang didn't quit. And when Netflix went global, they took a risk on this strange Korean game show. The rest is history, but it took a decade of rejection to get there. And the dark reality Squid Game wasn't fully fiction. Its concept is disturbingly close to a real place Brothers Home, a government-run camp in South Korea. In the late 1970s, the South Korean government was preparing for the 1988 Olympics. To clean up the streets, they launched a campaign to remove undesirables. Orphans, beggars, and homeless people were snatched off the streets and sent to facilities like Brothers Home. It was sold as a welfare center. In reality, it was a concentration camp. Over 4,000 people were forced into brutal conditions, many without trial or reason. Even children were taken. A nightmare hidden behind good PR. Just like Squid Game, it was about control power and using the weak to serve the system. Inside, Brothers Home life was hell. Survivors later revealed horrifying stories: beatings, sexual abuse, starvation, and forced labor. Children as young as 5 were put to work. Anyone who resisted was tortured, locked in boxes, whipped, or assaulted. Some were even killed. Many were shaved bald and assigned numbers, just like Squid Game contestants. Inmates were used to manufacture goods, and the profits were kept by the administrators. It was not just about discipline, it was profit-driven exploitation of the powerless. There was no escape. If someone tried to run, they were brought back and made an example of. For years, this place operated under government protection. The rich and powerful watched while the voiceless suffered. It wasn't fiction, it was policy. But here's what makes it even more disturbing: the government knew. The man behind it all, Pastor Park In-kyun, wasn't hiding in the shadows. He was praised, awarded, supported by the military regime for cleaning up the streets. Meanwhile, people were being kidnapped in broad daylight, snatched from bus stops, never seen again. No trials, no names, just a van. And silence. Even when a journalist exposed the truth in the 80s, nothing really changed. Pastor Park was convicted, but not for abuse, just for money. He never served a single day for the torture, the deaths, the shattered lives. Survivors tried to speak, but their voices were buried under Korea's rapid progress. This wasn't neglect, it was a cover-up. Just like Squid Game, the powerful watched while the powerless were turned into profit. Look closely at Squid Game, the truth isn't hidden. It's right there in plain sight. The numbered uniforms, the masked guards, the secret, isolated location, the brutal punishments for tiny mistakes. It all mirrors something real: Brothers Home. Where people were not names, they were numbers. where silence ruled and resistance was crushed. In the show, losers die. In Brothers Home, mistakes brought torture. Even the recruitment feels familiar, strangers offering help, only to trap the desperate. It may look like fiction, but the bones of this story are real. These aren't just games. They're metaphors for a system designed to break the poor, while the powerful watch and the players rarely survive. Squid Game didn't just trend, it reshaped pop culture. In just weeks, Google searches for Squid Game beat every other show in history. Schools started banning kids from playing the show's games during recess. On TikTok, hashtags like #Squid Game reached billions of views. Halloween costumes sold out worldwide. Even Mr. Beast, a famous YouTuber, recreated the show in real life, spending $3.5 million on his own version. People weren't just watching, they were living it. But beneath the fun and memes was something serious. Squid Game made poverty, inequality, and survival part of global conversation. The line between fiction and reality started to blur. That's when things got dangerous. With fame came fallout. Psychologists began to sound the alarm that the violence in Squid Game wasn't just fiction anymore. Kids were copying the games in schoolyards. Losers weren't eliminated, they were slapped, humiliated, dared into danger. In France, schools reported children acting out entire scenes. Parents were worried. Governments asked, is this content even safe for young minds? Activists accused the show of glamorizing pain. Netflix called it mature content. But that didn't answer the bigger question. Where do we draw the line between storytelling and scarring? Because when pain becomes play, the damage doesn't stay on screen. And then the real tragedies began. A Korean teen's phone number accidentally shown in the show brought thousands of prank calls. He couldn't sleep. He deleted apps. He nearly sued Netflix. But worse was still to come. In 2023, during the filming of a real-life Squid Game competition, a contestant died. Cardiac arrest. Others claimed they were forced to stand for over 7 hours in freezing cold just to survive red light and green light. Netflix denied wrongdoing, but fans asked, have we gone too far? When people start getting hurt for entertainment, is it still just a game? Because Squid Game was never just a story. It's a mirror, a brutal reflection of our world, a world where debt eats lives, where the poor are pitted against each other and the rich. Just watch. We pretend it's fiction, but the game never ended. From Brothers Home to modern-day exploitation, the rules are still the same. That's why Squid Game hits so hard, because deep down, we recognize it. It's not a show, it's a warning. And if we don't listen, we might already be players in a system that profits off pain and calls it entertainment.